Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Want to bet? Then get in on the action at Sports Interaction. The boys of summer are back on the diamond, and March Madness is on deck. Bet pregame, live and play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Or in Ontario, download the app now using the QR code in the bottom of the screen. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Hi, everybody. I hope your week is going well. I hope it's going better than that game did. If it is your first time here, welcome to Game Over Toronto. We're happy to have you. I'm sad it can't be after a better game after the Leafs cataclysmically lose against the Edmonton Oilers. That's an understatement, I think. In what would have been actually a worse loss. And I am not allowed to yell because everybody in my house, including both of my cats and my wife, are asleep. So I have to have quiet rage tonight. And I think we're all feeling pretty much the same. That couldn't have gone much worse. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about the game, unfortunately. We're going to talk about the trades. We're going to talk about how some of the people played tonight. We're going to talk about all of that and more. And we're going to talk about all of that with our guest, John Viveiros, coming on to join us tonight on this late Wednesday night game. He is joining us. He is the host of Hot Take Hockey on his YouTube channel. Please, SDPN fans, welcome John Viveiros to the SDPN channel. Game Over Toronto. Welcome. Hello.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I wish it was under better circumstances, a better game, but you know what? Regardless, I appreciate you having me on.
I wish we had a better game for you too. But I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that we have some things to talk about, even if it is not that atrocious game.
Yep. There is a lot to talk about, but I think, okay, listen, this was a bad game for the Leafs. The Oilers played well and all that, but if you wanted me to sum this up into two words, it'd be Connor freaking McDavid. Like, are you kidding me? Who made this dude? He's not human. I refuse to believe this guy is human. Like, all you conspiracy theorists out there talking about, the fake moon landing, the Earth's flat, blah blah. Look at this guy. Are you kidding me? He's not human. I'm pretty sure he's got, like, you know those like F1 like Red Bull engine, shout out to F1 starting this weekend. I'm pretty sure he has those attached to his skates. Like, the fact that this guy's been in the league for 8 seasons now, I'm pretty sure it's 8 seasons, and I'm still freaking out about him is mind-blowing. It's bonkers, is it not?
Yeah, it's crazy.
He laid it out to us today again. This is his 5th consecutive 2-goal game. It's only happened 3 times in the last century. If he has another one of these, he ties the leader. He has 50. I'm pretty sure like 50 goals right now. He's on
52.
pace.
It's 52
now.
tonight.
Yeah,
he's on pace for 67.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
If you ask me for the over/under on 67 right now, I'd probably say over as well.
67. That number sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to sprinkle that in there.
Oh, please stop.
It's okay. We got roasted tonight. We could use a little seasoning.
Yeah.
Honestly, after that performance, because, the Leafs make all these trades yesterday, and I was on my commute home and I was losing my mind because every time I got signal, there was a new player on my team. And I was anticipating tonight's game to be rocky because there's so many moving parts, right? Like 20% of the roster right now is a little bit different than it was 3 weeks ago. So obviously there is an adjustment period, and I am doing my very best to try and give them just a teensy bit of grace. But when they play like that, after they played so well on Sunday versus the Kraken, and I know that the Kraken and the Oilers are not the same team, and I understand that, but it was like, what happened, guys? What happened? It was like, David Kampf, God love that man, ties it up in the first, a couple minutes after McDavid starts his reign of terror over the Leafs. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then it was like for a second the Leafs had fight, and then the rest of the game was just a wet fart.
Yeah.
It was bad.
It was really bad. And you know what? I'm gonna put a little blame out to one of our SDPN hosts. His name's Armand. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with him. He's in India right now. He's watching this game from India, and he turned it on as soon as we were 1-1, and within 5 seconds of him turning it on, the Oilers scored, and they just continued the reign of terror. So Armand,
You're
this
fired.
is on you. Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, but we talked about the guys that we traded for, right? McCabe and Lafferty, right? There's two guys that were brought up. And obviously they haven't had much time on the team thus far, but those are two guys that got two huge penalties that led to, well, one of them, McCabe, led to the first goal by McDavid earlier on, and the Lafferty one probably should have been a goal. There was two goals that should have counted that were called off. I'm getting confused which one that even was to begin with. Like, it's ridiculous. I think that was the one that Samsonov lost control of the puck. The Oilers spot it, and the refs blow the whistle.
Early whistle,
a second right before. That was the one, right? And it was just a shame to see that was the way they started versus, let's say, like Ekholm, right? He was also just traded, and he had a fantastic game. The Oilers
he looked
great
super
defensively.
effective. Yeah.
He looked
Well, I was
like
also sorry, you go, Lauren.
No, he looked exactly like the piece that Edmonton needed to perform that way, right?
Yeah.
He came as advertised.
Well, I was talking about it earlier. I feel like the Oilers, the whole conversation with like McDavid, Draisaitl, like they want defensemen that are going to feed them the puck. So that's why it was a little upsetting seeing Tyson Barrie get moved, especially the behind the scenes and him being in the locker room. But, I thought it was a good balance tonight on the Oilers side. I mean, Ekholm plays that defensive style, but I didn't see a change in getting the puck to Draisaitl or McDavid. I thought it was about the same. And I know you were hyping up McDavid. So to me, it looked all the same for the Oilers. I don't think Oilers fans watch this game. And we were expecting maybe a Jack Campbell versus former team, but I think it was probably the right call to put Stuart Skinner in because he looked calm in the net. But yeah, I think it was definitely a storyline of Leaf stars not looking so hot and obviously not looking engaged at all. I don't know if they were still hung from the Bruce Springsteen concert, but obviously the Oilers guys were buzzing.
Maybe that was it, because the boss wouldn't want them to play like that. I know that for sure. And, to your point, John, like, it is what Edmonton does all the time. And, not to say that we're expecting them to be shut down every time that the Leafs play the Oilers. That's not what I'm expecting. But in years past, when the team has not been as good on paper as it is currently, they've been able to sort of, for the most part, mitigate that level of dominance from the Oilers. And not just Connor McDavid. Like, there was scoring from all over the place on the Oilers tonight, right? Like, as soon as Hyman got that goal, it was open season. Everybody was putting pucks on net. And it feels a little bit like the Leafs have taken a step back in regards to how they played against Edmonton, because, the last half a dozen times that they've played, they haven't won every time, but it's been a significant showing of, like, this is how you play defense against Connor McDavid. And this game, it was like, you could tell that there was a obvious change because they played so badly against the whole team. It was hard to watch all three periods. Like, John, I'm sorry again for making you watch all of that. Like,
well, I was just gonna say, Riley and Hall, that pair needs to be scrapped like ASAP.
Can we
immediately
just fire it into the sun? Like,
never should exist again. I said it after last game, and that was, you talked about it at the start. Like, the Leafs dominate. They won against the Kraken. They won like
handily.
Well, and to me, I still pointed out the fact that pair should be scrapped. And I think after a big win and a win like that, if you're pointing out a pair that's that bad, like it should be scrapped. And I think that was the part, even in the playoffs against Tampa, that bothered me with Keefe, is I felt like after a win, even if there was things wrong, he was like, okay, we won. We're going to keep it the same. We won. We're going to keep it the same. We're not going to touch it. And I feel like it's just so ironic because the Tavares, Marner, O'Reilly line was buzzing, and now they've changed that. So, to me, they're going to have to figure it out. You talked about the matchup game with McDavid, Draisaitl shutting those guys down. Maybe if O'Reilly's shifted to the third line as a center, as a shutdown line, you can let Tavares and Marner or Tavares and Nylander fly on different matchups, but a little frustrating in my eyes.
Absolutely. And like, the best line tonight from the Leafs was the fourth line.
Yeah.
Zach Aston Reese, Noel Achari, and Sam Lafferty, who I did not know he was that fast. My bad. They were the ones that were getting the best zone possessions in the
100%.
Oilers' end for the entire second period, for sure. It was like as soon as Noel Acciari put a tiny bit of pressure on them, they were getting the puck turned over, and then that's what leads to the Kampf goal, even in the first. Now it's a different line, but it's that sort of pressure that's making the Oilers play not great, and that's what other teams were doing to the Leafs in years previous. They were like, listen, if we just get the Leafs to play defense, they're going to flub on it because they're not very good at it. And the Oilers, even though they got Matthias Ekholm and have improved, obviously, defensively, and we can all agree on that, they got rid of Tyson Barrie, who is not a defenseman. He is a forward that plays on the back end. And you upgrade that, and it clearly works. And you know, for the other lines that we had to get shut down the way they did, was, I mean, they had to change it. The O'Reilly Tavares Nylander line was just it. I was like, I didn't even know when they were on the ice because they were just like ghosts.
I think that was Tavares' worst game this season, to be honest. And I'm pretty confident in saying that.
I think it was the worst game for a lot of players tonight. Yeah, especially that second line. I think they need to be they need to be changed up a little bit. That fourth line though, back to that point, I do agree with that. I think they look fantastic. Even in the first, there was a couple times earlier on where Acciari was really being a pest in the Oilers zone. I think he had like a really good steal at one point, and that led to a decent chance as well. So yeah, like finally we've Keefe has been trying to look for a solid fourth line, and I think he kind of has this nailed down. I think they look pretty good together, but yeah, there's a lot of other areas that need to be kind of touched up now, and with the playoffs inching closer and closer, you're kind of running out of time to tinker around with this lineup, especially as you're adding in more and more guys. We'll talk about some of the guys that we picked up, but it's going to be tough. Keefe is going to have a tough time getting this done, but you can't play the way that you played today and expect to go far in the playoffs, especially if you're playing Tampa and Boston for round 1 and 2, right? It's just not going to work that way.
Yeah. And, you know, the only way that the Leafs would meet the Oilers would be in the Stanley Cup Finals, which we would all be very happy if they got to the Stanley Cup Final. But I would be terrified against the Oilers in the Stanley Cup Final because they have the cheat code, right? They have a game shark. That's what they have. They have a game shark that is built into their team. And listen, somebody in the chat asked if we would trade Matthews for McDavid every day of the week. And any Leaf fan that says that they wouldn't is lying. Every Leaf fan that says that they wouldn't is lying.
Where's my Matthews jersey, huh? You putting some disrespect on my boy.
Not at all. Not at all.
No,
but you started the show off saying how incredible he is.
And he's literally a magician out there. Like it's ridiculous. Like one of my points for McDavid's second goal was literally just too fast. He's a magician, and that's it. There's nothing you could have done at that point. Yeah, I don't know. That I do want to point out one thing though. I guess like it could be a positive or a negative depending on how you look at it. That Zach Hyman goal, when I looked back and saw that goal happen, I noticed that Acciari and Nylander both kind of flubbed on that. So when Hyman got the first shot off, it took a bounce off of Samsonov, and then Hyman got the puck back, and then that's where he sniped it back and got it past Samsonov, right? In that play, when Hyman gets the first shot off, he kind of goes around and Acciari and Nylander both look at each other and assume that each other are going to get Hyman, and neither of them get it. Yeah. And that's how he was able to get like a free shot off, right? And so that's going to come down to purely chemistry, right? This is their first game. Not their first game together, but they've only had a handful of games together, and hopefully they get that under them. But that's a case of chemistry not being the thing. What do you think, John? Did you think that it was that chemistry, or did you find that that they did have a lack of chemistry this game, or do you think there was just other issues that were just plaguing them?
Yeah, definitely a mix of both. I see what you're saying though, because there was a couple times where guys got crushed up. I noticed it like a few times with McCabe and like wingers, or like there was a couple times even through transition through the neutral zone. I definitely think it's a mix of both though, because like I'll even attribute to it, like going back to the Riley Hall conversation, like there's guys that have been playing together or been on the team together all year, and they just looked tangled up. I think they were on for 3 of the 5 goals against. So yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying though. There was definitely connections on like line changes where, yeah, as you said, Acciari would come on, the Nylander line's still on, and just a whole different mess. But It definitely seemed like they're on different pages all across the board, not just the new guys, but you definitely got a point there. And you know what? It probably comes down to also that there's just a lack of comfort level there. Even if it's just three guys that have been on the same team, maybe it's just a feeling of them trying to figure things out, tinkering things. Obviously, Keefe's made it known that they are trying to tinker with things. Obviously, got to be careful as you get closer and closer to playoffs. Tinkering's got to be shoved out the door. But I'm definitely with you. I also wanted to just touch on the we talked off air about the Hall and the Nugent Hopkins fight. Obviously, he hit Yamamoto and then got just absolutely destroyed by Nugent Hopkins. But I saw a few tweets of people saying that obviously the Luke Schenn trade happened. That's the one we haven't really discussed yet. Didn't it seem like Hall? I feel like I've been talking so much. Was like playing like it was his last Leaf game. Like he was throwing hits. Like this guy fought.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, he was the regular Hall. He was bad in so many other areas, but I've never seen Hall hit the way he did today. And he laid like three. He hit McDavid like big time into the boards there that one time. So I don't know. It seemed that vibe for me.
I saw somebody
go ahead,
take McDavid into the boards, and I was like, who was that? I had to wait for Tic-Tac-Toe to put the GIF up before I would believe it was Justin Hall, because he doesn't play like that. And you're right.
No.
He looked like a desperate man out there, and maybe he should feel desperate, especially with how they played tonight. And
because Luke Schenn does that on the regular.
Yeah,
So.
that's his bread and butter. He does that all day, every day, and 8 times on Sunday, right? And I hope it instills a teensy bit of competitive nature in Justin Hall, which would be great. But you know, tonight when the Leafs are playing and they're feeling this disconnect that you're talking about, John, and you know they're not comfortable with each other, they don't know where each other's going to go. It ends up wasting small amounts of time that don't seem like a big deal. But how many times did the Leafs ice the puck tonight?
Oh man!
Because it was
a
just
stretch of 3 icings in like a minute.
It was just throwing it down the ice and hoping somebody would get it. And even like Morgan Riley at one point when they were on the first power play fires it into the far corner and like nobody's there. And
well, that's the disconnect we're talking about, right? Because Riley did that with Marner on Marner's goal off the end boards, and Marner picked it up.
Yeah,
I feel like they were trying different things that it looked they were not on the same page tonight at all.
Yeah.
I did want to circle back to that Hall hit because it was so funny. I had to look back and see because I was like, I swear Hall is like the bigger guy. There's no way he should have got manhandled. So I looked into it. Hall is not only 3 inches taller, but also like 15 pounds heavier than Ryan. Like if you were talking about the UFC, they would almost be in 2 different divisions. Like add a couple more pounds on Hall and they're 2 separate divisions. And the way Ryan just absolutely
ragdolled him.
It was disgusting. Like you could
tell that one feed right here got him.
Yeah,
it got him. Yeah.
And the one thing that came to my mind as soon as I heard that, and I love that you brought up Schenn, was that Luke Schenn would not have lost that fight. There was no way
he would have knocked him in 2 hits.
Ryan Nugent Hopkins wouldn't have finished the game. He would have to go get stitches.
Well, someone said something funny in my chat. That wouldn't have happened, right? Nuge wouldn't have faced up against Schenn. Maybe there's a little conversation, but I think that's the more embarrassing part. The fact that Nuge was that confident to drop the gloves like that against Hall, I think is just next level because he's just not doing that against Schenn. He's not doing that against McCabe. He's probably not even doing that like against TJ Brody the way he did it against Hall.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, Hall, that's cute. That's cute. It's really cute that you're trying so hard now. Where was this?
And did you see Hall and Nylander in the penalty box together?
Oh, I know.
Full straight on, no word said.
They were not happy.
It was just brutal. And maybe what Keefe is doing is he's playing Hall on the top line so he can be like, see, Kyle, we do need to make another trade. Maybe that's what we're doing.
Hey, what do you guys think about Samsonov though? Because like we are going to be talking about the trades and an area that even a lot of Leafs fans have been talking about is our goalie position, right? I mean, Matt Murray has been out for a while now. We don't know if he's going to be able to come back before the playoffs. Samsonov, although he's looked okay at home, on the road he is atrocious. I think it's like a .92 at home and a .90 at away, right? Would you guys want to see, I guess, some kind of trade happen to shore up that goalie position? Because and when I looked at it, there's not a lot of positions, or there's not a lot of people or options that they had available.
Bring back James Reimer. No,
yeah.
I'm joking.
Oh God, like Leafs the only one available, because I was looking at it, I'm like, maybe Quick, maybe Korpisalo, but nope, they got traded for each other like just earlier today as well. So there's like nobody available. But do you have any confidence in Samsonov and Murray anymore, or do you think they gotta do something to trade?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really contribute. Like, I don't look at too many of the goals tonight and go, that was fully on Samsonov. The only one that really bothered me, I know he was screened a bit, and it was like, it's Connor McDavid. So McDavid's so deceptive, but McDavid's goal, through the like, to me, that's got to be a stop from Samsonov at that point of the game. Like, McDavid already scored his flashy goal. I just think the Leafs tied it up, as you said, Lauren. And like, that was the point of the game. It's like, okay, the Leafs got a little lucky on that goal. The Oilers were napping, thinking it was offside.
Yeah.
Like, that's got to be a stop in that moment of the game. So that's the only one. And we've talked about that so many times with past Leaf goalies, like Freddie Anderson and Jack Campbell, like making that save when you need it. That was a point where you make that save, it's 1-1, and it's probably an even game throughout the rest of the period. But outside of that, I mean, the Yamamoto deflection, like the McDavid here pass and go, and then the Leafs just abandoning their own zone for a good old 2-on-0 there.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Costin goal, he had no chance on either.
Yeah, no
right?
chance.
And that's the thing, is that we've been saying on a lot of our streams. Also, I just want to say we have 150 people watching us right now. So please make sure you hit like and subscribe. Thank you for coming. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. Like we have all been saying, they don't need Vasilevsky. They need somebody that can get them a solid goaltending, and maybe a couple that they shouldn't have gotten. But they can only play that way when the Leafs play as defensively solid as they have for so much of this season. Because when you play really solid defensively and the goalie gets used to that level of support, and then all of a sudden you play that sort of a game, of course he's going to play terribly. Like, I'm not saying that it's perfect, and I'm not saying I don't have concerns. Of course I do, but the Leafs hung him out to dry tonight, and I'm glad that they didn't pull him, because Wool didn't deserve to go behind that level of defense. And I hope, I mean, it's not going to happen because they're on the road, but like, I would assume that if they weren't playing tomorrow would be one of those bag skate days, because who was the best player on the Leafs tonight, guys? Who was the best player?
It'd be one of the fourth liners, or like,
Achari, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe Achari.
Yeah, maybe Achari.
And we're saying that, and Marner got a goal. Like, like that's, it's, of course it's concerning, and there's a part of me that really does want to make a goalie trade, but again, who are we gonna get?
Actually, you know what? I thought Giordano played well. I think Giordano was the only one on the defense core that played well tonight.
The thing is,
moments.
I didn't even notice him on the ice, so that's how I know that you played well, because everybody else that I noticed was playing so bad.
Yeah.
I agree.
Or David Kampf, because he got a goal. That's his third goal in 5 games, which is absurd, which I love him. And
I also feel like it was a really rough night for Liljegren. I feel like just fresh off the Sandin trade, like everyone was advocating for Liljegren. Like, Liljegren's the guy to keep over Sandin, but he had a really rough night. Like, so the goal we just talked about, the Klim Kostin goal, like, Liljegren committing high up on the blue line like that in his own zone, I have no idea what he was doing there. It would have been 2-on-2, and then Brody's just left on his own, and then we know the rest.
Absolutely. And then later in the third, Liljegren falls and then ends up leaving the game, right? And ends up spending the rest of the period in the room, and hopefully he's okay. Stick taps for Timothy Liljegren, of course. And we were all assuming that that Luke Schenn was going to be getting an opportunity tomorrow too. So, I mean, it sounds like
call out Shannon, lock it in.
Let's go, please.
I am totally down for that. Do you remember who was Shen's partner back when he was on the Leafs like a fucking decade ago? I can't remember anymore.
Oh God,
I gotta look into it.
Where's Steve Dangle when you need him?
Maybe Carl Gunnarsson. That would be my guess. Maybe
I'll look into it. But yeah, I mean, just get Hall out as soon as possible. Hopefully Schenn comes in. But I kind of want to circle it back to our goaltending situation, because historically, right, the Leafs, the last couple of playoffs, we've seen that they have games where they just don't play up to their potential, right? Whether it's defensively they break down, their offense is looking shaky.
Or both at the same time.
Exactly. But when you have a goaltender like Samsonov or Murray, where they aren't superhuman, they're all right goaltenders when they're on their game, and when the team is playing well around them, they'll be okay they'll be serviceable, definitely, but they're not going to be like a Vazzy. They're not going to give you like outstanding performances where they just steal a show, right? And I feel like against Tampa, against Boston, there's going to be times where that's going to have to happen, and I don't really have faith in them right now to make it happen, right? Again, there's just nothing available in the market, so I don't know what kind of strings Dubas is going to have to pull, but at this moment, from what I've seen recently, I don't really have too much confidence in Samsonov or Murray, especially because Murray's going to be rusty when he comes back as well, right? People are saying that he's going to be coming back for the playoffs, so they're not even going to have an opportunity to fight it off going into the playoffs, right? I just don't have too much confidence in these guys anymore. I think something's got to give.
Well, I think if there's any, like even an ounce of question mark on Matt Murray's health, the decision should be easy. It should be you keep him on LTIR and you trade one of Kerfoot, Hull, or both, and you use that cap space and you go get a veteran or you go get a guy that's actually healthy. I'm not going to be out here suggesting Johnny Quick's the answer to this. So we'll put that to rest. I mean, maybe if Columbus wants to retain 50% and it's just like a contract in, contract out. Yeah. Sure. I would do Quick 50% retain for Hull right now. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there's too many options that are going to move the needle here. So that's where we're at.
I was going to mention Gibson as well, but he also has been looking really bad as well, right? So there's
I mean, Gibson and Demko have been in rumors for a while, but I don't know if those trades are happening.
Yeah, well, Dubas is going to have his work cut out for him because it looks like there's still going to be there's going to be a trade on the table, right? They got that first from Boston, which is kind of weird, and I'm still not totally sold on Gustafsson. We can talk about that trade too. I think there's still some stuff that's going to have to happen.
Well, and this morning Keith actually said in the meetup with the interviewers this morning, saying we'll get through the trade deadline and see what the final group looks like. So it sounds like even Keefe is aware of the fact that there's probably going to be other changes coming. And after tonight's game, I mean, how much more do you really want to mix up the lines, right? And there's been more than one person in the chat saying, have they already traded too much and made too many changes and disrupted too much of the flow and and all of the rest of the sky that's falling on all of our heads right now, right? And of course, it's like, it's something that we have to think about, but it's now it does come down to the question of, we're running out of runway to decide who we're going to get as the last piece. Is it a goalie? And if it is, who is it going to be? Because I don't see the Islanders deciding to do Kyle Dubas a favor and giving us Ilya Sorokin. You know what I mean? I know they just got Pierre Engvall, and I know he's great, but don't feel like that sort of favor is going to come our way.
Maybe Varlamov, maybe, but that's a reach.
Yeah. Well, did we want to kind of go into some of the trades? We can go at a high level and just talk about what trades occurred, and then kind of talk about how the Leafs lineup kind of shaked out. How's that sound?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, sure. So the Leafs, obviously, we got O'Reilly and Achari earlier last week. Monday, we picked up McCabe and Lafferty in a fucking heist. I can't believe the Leafs were able to pull that off, because getting Jake McCabe for 50% retained as well, because he still has 2 years left on that deal. I think he's gonna be making $2 million after that retention. That's huge, and he's a big body that throws hits. He's essentially what we needed with Muzzin injured, right? Lafferty, another guy he's not making too much. He's making 1.15 with 1 year left. He's kind of versatile. If you want to bury him, you can bury him. It really depends on how he plays, right? And then we can talk about Joey Anderson. He got traded. I think that was the biggest pick that Chicago picked up from that. You can talk about Gogolev, but I think Joey Anderson plus that first and second were the main things in that trade. Do you guys agree that trade looked like a heist that Dubas pulled off?
Well, actually, I'll say my initial reaction before even knowing the retention part, I thought the Leafs overpaid a little bit, just based on my initial reaction. Well, my mindset was like, I thought McCabe, having that ice time and having that ability in Chicago. Obviously, Chicago was a rough team, but I feel like I've talked to a bunch of Hawks fans. They kind of looked at that perspective more as like McCabe was one of their bright spots, I guess. Like the Hawks have been an absolute mess, right? So I think they valued McCabe in that aspect. But obviously when I thought about it more on the 50% retained for I forgot it was 2 additional years. I was like, all right, okay. So Dubas pulled one here. Cause like,
Yeah.
that doesn't come easy in this league. Like retaining for 1 year is already like you give additional assets for that, but retaining for 2 additional years. So for sure on that aspect, when I thought about it over, I don't know if I'd use the word heist after watching tonight's game. Give me another week. Give me another week. But yeah, it was a good trade for Dubas for sure.
Well, and McCabe had a rough game tonight. Like he had some bright spots. He had a couple of really nice passes, and he put one puck on net that almost led to that one Lafferty goal where he was right down in front of the net. So yeah, he did have a couple good plays, but I think McCabe's going to get there. I just think that's just new business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they got to get used to the new team for sure.
Yeah, and I think that because we know that the changes aren't over, that's probably not even going to happen for another couple of weeks. And you know, that was game 61 tonight, so we only have 21 games left. And as much as we want all these trades to happen, if we trade for more people, we're going to have less time to see what they look like and to actually work with them, right? So
Yeah,
I do like
definitely.
the idea of like once Dubas changed that third line tonight to the O'Reilly thing, I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was a good idea. I thought if you're ever going to try that on a game, you might as well try it when you're losing terribly. And I have to imagine that McCabe will improve and that Lafferty will improve and that all of these guys are going to get better because, you know, some of them haven't even been on the team for 72 hours, right? So you can only gel so much on the ice when you're going to see a Bruce Springsteen concert 48 hours before you play together.
Exactly. And then just a reminder to all these fans watching or listening, we got to remember, I mean, O'Reilly, when he got traded to the Leafs, he had a -2, and Sid Sixera was on the show and absolutely railed O'Reilly for losing, for being that bad. And then he came back the next game or the second game after with the hat trick, right? So it takes time for these guys to gel, but yeah, I think overall this will, I guess, work out in the favor of the Leafs, hopefully in time for the playoffs. And now the trade that I have very strong opinions about. The Leafs traded with the Washington Capitals. They got Eric Gustafsson and Bruins first round for 2023. Interesting that got picked up for Rasmus Sandin. So I'll shoot it out to you, Lauren. Go ahead, and then I'll give my opinions afterwards.
I mean, I'm sad to see Sandin go. I'm wearing my Borja shirt in memoriam for all of the Swedes that were traded in the last couple of days from the Leafs. Pierre Engvall and Rasmus Sandin, we hardly knew ye. And I think we don't know what the trade looks like and how well it's going to pan out. I'm sad that we had to get rid of Sandin, but he is going to flourish in Washington more than he would have had the opportunity to flourish here. And even though I don't like losing him, and I'm positive at some point he is going to have a series-winning goal against us in the playoffs, and we are all going to scream his name in vain. The fact of the matter is he deserved a better chance than he was getting, and he sometimes made decisions that made all of us collectively shake our heads and go, what are you doing? But he was one of the only players on the Leafs that threw a good, solid, open ice reverse hit. You know, he did have some shining moments on the power play, and I think that he is only going to improve, and I think that getting an opportunity to work with Alex Ovechkin will help anybody's stat line go up. What do you think, John?
I think people forgot Sandin was only 22. Like I'm very confident in that. So no, I was a big fan of Sandin. Yeah, obviously he made his mistakes in the playoffs. I mean, to me, my reaction, I was pretty pissed at the trade. But what I said, even when I recorded my video, at the end, it was like, if Dubas flips this first for someone that's going to help us now, then that makes sense. That was my mindset, because I just feel like this is a trade that helps Sandin's career, but also like if he's not getting into the lineup, okay, you're getting that first round pick to do something now. So when Dubas is not done here, and obviously we've talked about potential trades, I truly think over the next 2 days, I'm looking at that trade in a lot better light if Dubas trades that first for something that's going to help this team quite a bit in the playoffs. So, I mean, yeah, I'm going to miss Sandin, but that's kind of how I feel.
I am on the exact same boat as you, John. I hated this trade when I first heard of it, because Eric Gustafsson, I looked into it, right? He's got 38 points, which is great. I mean, in 48 or 58
can't play defense
games,
for shit.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. He did get that hat trick against the Leafs earlier this season. So
which is hilarious.
yeah, give it up for him. But he literally plays zero defense. Like this is not a player that I would trust in the playoffs, because it really seems, and I think when Steve was breaking down this game or this trade as well, he mentioned the same thing. It's a player that can win you a series or can easily lose you a series as well, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think Gustafsson, as well as that first round pick, is going to get flipped. I don't see how Eric Gustafsson like improves this lineup unless he's like peaking at his potential, where he's playing offensively like we see him play.
Yeah.
But also he's like playing with the brain and actually thinking and with a defensive mind, right? If they trade someone and get someone with Gustafsson and that first, like fantastic. But if not, I think this was a horrible mistake. Sandin's the younger guy. He has way more potential, and yeah, like you said, he's like literally 22 years old, and he's been playing well for the Leafs. I think the problem is he just doesn't get time, right? And it's an issue with the fact that we just don't have space for him in the lineup. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to see him excel in Washington. I know he's going to do great there. It's going to suck when he plays against the Leafs, but yeah, I mean, he's a Sioux Greyhound. I think Dubas kind of wanted to let him see his options, because I know there was some rumors about him not being happy with the time that he was getting on the ice with the Leafs as well.
Yeah, with the Sioux connection, I was going to say that definitely hurt Kyle's heart a bit for sure.
Yeah.
Just on your Gustafsson point, I think the only way truly that Gustafsson has a role here is if he's the seventh, eighth defenseman, and he only comes in when they need a true power play specialist. And then the rest of the game, he plays 5-6 minutes. That's it. Like that's literally it. Easy matchups, power play, boom. Because I'm a big Morgan Rielly guy, but watching him lately, it's just maybe that contributes to him playing with Hull. But I know Gustafsson, if he has a lot of strengths, like one of his main strengths is that he puts numbers up on the power play. I mean, John Carlson went down with the injury, and that's been Gustafsson's role like the last 2 months in Washington. So that's kind of why he's put up those numbers as well. I think that needs to be said. But yeah, that's literally the only way there's a role in this team for him.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
And if you watch some of the high, like I was watching, you go home after you get home after all the trade yesterday, and you sit down and you watch highlight packs of all these new players, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a lot of time to watch every other market, so I don't know about every single other player. And it seems like, yeah, he's got a really nice little uptick side, but I'm like, why did we trade for TJ Brody 2.0?
Great
No
way to put it. I think,
defense. Great on the power play.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be interesting to see how they kind of make it work. It's gonna be another. Remember that weird like 5 forward power play that they were trying to make work, and they were just hoping that it would happen. It seems like it's gonna be another one of those where they're just gonna try it out, like pray that it works a couple of times if they do end up keeping him, and then if it doesn't, just bury him. There's nothing you can do. There's no way you're putting him in the lineup to play regular minutes. But yeah, okay. So and then the final trade that happened it was yesterday as well. Yeah. Luke Shen, I'll kind of bundle this together because it seemed like very similar. So the Leafs received a 3rd round pick for Pierre Engvall, and then they also received Luke Shen for a 3rd round to the Canucks. So it's kind of like a weird swap essentially. What do you guys think of that? Just giving away Engvall?
Yeah, Lauren, you can go first if you want.
I feel bad for the guy on Twitter who was like, "Oh, Isles fans, this is who we're getting. This hard-hitting, hard-playing
I saw
forward."
that.
And I think everybody that's on Leafs Twitter saw it. And I just went, "Oh, you sweet summer child." And I will miss lots of things about Pierre Engvall. He's very good defensively. He has because he's Zdeno Chara size almost, he has a super long reach with his stick, so he's great on the back check, on the forecheck. He's great on the PK. And I actually, if you want my real thoughts, I wish that they kept Pierre Engvall over Kerfoot.
Yeah,
true story.
I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah,
but it's just.
Well, I'll just keep going.
No, and then obviously getting Luke Shen back is great. Like, who doesn't love that? If you've been a Leaf fan as long as I have, you're like, yay, thank you very much. I unfortunately don't have that jersey anymore, sadly. But I'm glad that he's back. It sounds like he is glad to be back. It sounds like he's thrilled to be back in the city, and we love when players love being here. So I think he's gonna come in full of piss and vinegar, and I hope he tears it up, and I hope that he comes as advertised. And I'm sad to see Engvall go. And it's fine, but like you said, Harnish, and you said, John, I hope that they're not done, and I hope that there's more, because it still doesn't feel totally right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know if this is why you felt that way, Lauren, but I feel like, and I think the numbers back this, is like Engvall had that role with Kampf, like had that fit with Kampf, and obviously had a lot of chemistry. So when we talk about like, I don't know, not on the same page, or it just seemed like they weren't synced up. I mean, Engvall and Kampf read each other so well. So all the things that drove me nuts, like about Engvall, like it just seemed like he was going through the motions at times, like no hitting, like sometimes would just go for a skate by rather than driving the net. Like there's certain things that Engvall did that drove me nuts, but I'm kind of with you. Like the fact that there was that fit, to me, I was kind of on the train of saying Engvall and Kerfoot can both go. Because I just want more of that physical identity third line that we see from playoff teams like Boston, Tampa, go down the list. So I'm with you on that. I do think, like I said, I think Dubas has one more move up his sleeve. From what I've heard, it seems like they always have loved Kerfoot, and the boys like Kerfoot too. So I hope that can be, I don't know, I hope they can look past that a little bit and look for what's best for the team, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think, and just to close it off, I agree with you guys as well. I think Pierre Engvall, just like looking at it in a shell, I think it was a little, the return was a little low. I understand like he has a 2.25 mil cap hit, and he's also a UFA at the end of the season. But a third round was kind of low in my opinion. But yeah, you can't blame him. You kind of needed cap space at that point. I think a lot of GMs understood the Leafs position as well, so they're not going to help Dubas out.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, right? Dubas didn't have leverage. He basically said it like publicly that he was like, "Yeah, we'll see if a player gets injured." Like
exactly.
So yeah, that was the scenario.
And maybe Lou Lamoriello didn't want Alex Kerfoot, right? Maybe he was like, "I'll take this one, but not this one," because that would be a very.
I'll take the 6'5" speedy guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And instead of the Harvard guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, welcome everybody that just come over from a game over Edmonton. Congratulations. I'm glad you're here.
215 people in the chat. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe. Let's start wrapping up the show here, guys. How long of a timeline how many hours and minutes before trade deadline before you systematically fill your pants because you're afraid that nothing's going to happen? And how long do you give the team to really gel before you start really shaking in your boots about the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting at least one more move from Dubas. So I'm in a way, like for the excitement, it'd be funny if Dubas had like a trade come in right in the last 15, 20 minutes. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, just going forward in the next month, I guess I'll say next month. I feel like if we get into April and we're still having any of these discussions we've had tonight, I know maybe people will be like, okay, we're reacting too heavy off of one game. You know what? There's probably the way we can be rational and then I go back to remembering the games in Anaheim and the games in wherever at the start of the year. So you know what? I'll leave it as it is. Look to April, 1 month exactly from now. If we're having any of these discussions, then yeah, I'm shitting my pants and we're having some real big talks.
Yeah, I'll break it up into two. So I love them, but the way that I kind of see it is we have our next game against the Oilers on the 11th, right? So that's literally 10 days from now.
Next Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not looking for a drastically like the Leafs this is the peak Leafs that we're gonna see, but I do not want to see a shit show like this again. It has to be like a within a 1-goal game or a 2-goal game. As long as you from the eye test you see that the Leafs are playing well, that's an improvement. That's what I want to see. I just want to see some kind of improvement, and I want to see some kind of consistency. Right now, I agree with you, John. I think by the end of this month, if things are not working, I am ringing the alarms. Something's going wrong. Something needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed quick because we don't have a lot of time left. right? I'm looking at our schedule right now, and we play the Flames, the Canucks, the Devils, the Oilers, and the Sabres, and the Avalanche. We're playing some good teams coming up, and this is going to be a measuring stick, in my opinion. And so the Leafs better use this this opportunity of playing against high caliber teams to sort it out, because you're not going to get it easy in the playoffs. So,
see, I would be hesitant about even giving them to the end of the month, because we play 14 games this month, guys, which puts us at game 75 a month from now. So I would even go so far as to say, if they don't have their shit together by the time they go see the Islanders in New York on the 21st, which is, 20 days from today, essentially 3 weeks yesterday, I think that you can't do anything at that point, right? After this Friday at 3 p.m., you lay the bed that you lay in the bed that you've made over the last week and the last 6 months. And I think that if they lose against the Islanders, it's going to be bad. I think that's going to be a great litmus test, because I don't think the Islanders are super great. I think that Pierre Engvall is not going to move the needle very much on that team.
Engvall will score that game, though.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I think that giving them any more than that, because the Islanders game essentially leaves them with 10 games, right? So I don't know, guys. Like if it's Thursday at 9 p.m. and there's not another trade made, then I'm like, Kyle, what are you doing? And if they lose the game on the 21st, then I'm going, Kyle, what are you doing? Into my microphone. But they all games cannot be like this game. I'm sure that the Leafs are going to come out firing on all cylinders against Calgary tomorrow. And we are going to have on Game Over tomorrow. Not only is Handsome Harnish going to be here with me, we have Peter from Game Over Calgary coming on with us, and it's going to be a great time. Hopefully it's a little bit better of a result for the Buds. But if you are watching Game Over Toronto with us tonight, thank you for being here on this late Wednesday. Or maybe you're living out west and it's nice and early for you. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Please leave a comment in the comments box down below if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback for us. My name is Lauren. Thank you for coming again tonight. And you can find me on Twitter at Lauren6. Harnish, go ahead.
My name is Harnish_Patel98 on Twitter. And again, thanks. There's so many people in the chat room today. There's like 240 people. Thank you all for tuning in for a late game. John, close us off.
Thank you, both of you, for having me. I really appreciate it, honestly. Shout out to also Game Over Calgary. Shout out to Audie James. But thank you to everyone in the chat. I really do appreciate it. And you can follow me, Hot Take Hockey on YouTube and Hot Take Hockey on Twitter. And my personal one's John Viveiros _ on Twitter. So hit me up on Hot Take Hockey YouTube, and we'll chat some more, guys.
Sounds good. Thank you for coming on tonight, John. And thank you again, everybody, for being here. We're happy to have you on this late Wednesday game. And we will see you all tomorrow after the game. Final whistle. Leafs lose against Edmonton in Edmonton. Have a great night, everybody. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.